Ms. Jenkins, to your opinion, what are the major differences in the debate on bioeconomy in Europe and in North America? Is bioeconomy an issue in the United States?
So I think that in the United States and in Europe, there's a lot of activity toward moving toward a bioeconomy, and I think there's the resources and the means to do so. I think that the drivers behind it are actually a little different. And I think that in Europe, it's probably more of an issue of trying to mitigate climate change. And I think in the United States, when we talk about bioeconomy and energy self-sufficiency from more of a bio-based feedstock, I think the driver is more energy security and job creation. And although there's a large percentage of the population that still feels that climate change is a significant issue, I think they're less comfortable discussing that in the current political situation or climate.
In what areas do you find the best opportunities for international cooperation between North America and Europe, in research and in industry?
I think that, well, the company that funds our institute is BP, so a UK company, and I think that because of that, it's quite clear to me where the synergies are, because energy is a global issue. So what we can develop and deploy in the United States can be applied elsewhere and vice versa. So the technologies that they're deploying right now at the lignocellulosic ethanol production plant in Hull are the very same technologies that could also then be applied to sugarcane bagasse in Brazil or corn stover in the United States. So I think that everybody working together, we're going to get the technologies pushed to a point where we're going to be able to deploy them more rapidly and globally.
So you believe in technology transfer?
I do. I think that that's key.
Oil industry has recently developed a new technology called fracking, which enables companies to utilize huge new resources of fossil shale oil. This has already changed the global energy and fuel markets and led to decreasing prices for oil and coal. Mm-hmm. Is peak oil already history as a driving force for renewable energies?
So I think that as far as peak oil is concerned, there are some that never really bought the argument of peak oil. And there's some who think that we will continue to find very large reserves, as evidenced by the pre-salt discoveries off of the coast of Brazil in the last few years. And I think that the shale, the fracking also shows that we have a surplus of natural gas that we didn't know existed before. So the idea of peak oil or these peak fossil fuels, I think, is something that we really need to rethink. It definitely has made an impact on how people, or how the U.S. has thought about their continued research in biorenewables or in renewable energy. I don't think that it's completely derailed it, because the approach of methane to transportation fuel is, I think, as far out technologically as we are with the lignocellulosic. So it's not an immediate solution. So I think that it doesn't take that, it doesn't take anything away from what we're looking at. I think that because it's much less carbon intensive than coal, it's definitely something that should be used if we have it now in the short term. And I think that it will actually, could possibly impact solar and wind, the intermittent renewable energy supplies, because it's cleaner and but it's also more consistent. So I think that's where we need to be careful that we don't lose the momentum we've made in solar and wind because of the shale gas bonanza.
So fracking, is it good or bad?
I think in the short term, as a displacement for coal, I think that it's a good thing. And I think that if there's regulations that, for example, with the fracking fluids, we need to be transparent about what we're doing, what we're putting in the ground, and what the potential impact of that is. We need to make sure that the that there's safety measures and precautions taken up front so that we minimize the potential environmental damage. If we can do that in the right way, then I think that in the short term, I personally don't have a problem with shale gas production.
So fracking could also be an issue for water resources.
Yes, I think any energy production is an issue for water resources. I think with the issue of fracking, it's pollution, contamination of aquifers closer to the surface. The activity of the fracking happens very, very low, but when you have to transverse that aquifer stream closer to the surface, and that could potentially impact drinking water, that's a concern.